Hey everyone, Stuart with Franklin Hill Ventures. Thanks for stopping by. This video is going to be the first in what will be a series of videos that are going to document my journey as I'm moving to reselling full time. So this first one will be really about how I've planned for the whole move into full time reselling. So I guess first off, just a little bit of history of my reselling and Franklin Hill Ventures. I mean, I've been reselling really, I don't remember exactly how long, but it's been a while, at least 10 or 15 years, but I would say within the last 10 years, I started to get a little serious about it as a part-time job. And then within the last 5 years, really started to get serious about it as like a part-time job or, hobby. So I always knew I wanted to do this full-time at some point, but we do have 4 kids. And so, between sports with all of my kids playing travel sports at some point, school activities, just general, everything that goes along with having kids, whether you have 1 kid or 4 kids like we do, there just was never the opportunity to do that. So now we're at the point where we're basically empty nesters. We have some of the kids, 2 of the kids, have been home for the summer interning here where we live in Knoxville, but for the most part, they're off at school. And then my 2 oldest are both off in other cities working. So, I'm finally to the point where, I have some time and the ability to look at moving full time with this. So originally my plan was to do this really more like a year from now. But a couple of factors came into play, primarily being that I drive to Chattanooga from Knoxville for work, which is about an hour and 45 minutes. And even though I currently only do that 2 to 3 times a week, I did it for 3 to 4 times a week for about 3.5 years. So just mentally and physically, that's worn on me. And I just got to the point where with the other stuff I put in place, I felt like the time was right. So did it a little early, but still kind of in the timeline of what I'd originally planned on. Uh, when I first told my wife about this, to say she was excited would probably not be the right way to put it, but she's very supportive, and she knows that that this is something that I've always wanted to do, and I will do my best to make it work. So just starting with some of the specific things that I've done to plan for this. The first, probably the most important, is just I've saved money. So I've saved a little over a year's worth of salary. So, even if I didn't do anything else and didn't change anything, I could go for a year just drawing basically the same salary I have now. Now, obviously, that's not the plan. So the plan will be that as I start to grow the reselling business, as I devote more time to it, I'll be able to reduce the draw that I'm taking from the money that I have saved. So, over time, I can stretch that to, from a year to 18 months to 2 years, whatever. And at some point, what I'm making reselling will replace the income I have now. So there'll also, be some kind of built-in expense cuts, not driving to Chattanooga with gasoline, not having to get clothes cleaned, those types of things. So the second thing that I did was diversified my marketplaces. So before, let's say 5 years ago, I was primarily just an eBay seller. So about 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago now, I made the move to get an antique booth. So the very first place I went was at Granny's Attic in Clinton, Tennessee. And I started with a half a booth there, went to a booth and 2 booths, and now I have 4 booths out there. So if you're ever in Clinton and come to Granny's, we're the first big 4 booths when you first walk in the front door. So stop in and see us if you're ever there. And then probably about 6 months after we started in Clinton, we got another booth at Beard and Antique Mall in Knoxville. So another great antique mall. So between the 2 places, we have basically the equivalent of 5 booths. So that was some of the first diversification we did. And then I also started to sell in other marketplaces. So originally I was just selling, different things on each marketplace. So eBay had stuff, Etsy had stuff, and I think I started on Macari next. But I never mixed and matched what was posted between those locations. So about a year ago, I ran across this perfectly. And that allowed me to start cross-posting pretty much everything that I list to all the different marketplaces at the same time, or basically at the same time. And it also allowed me to add some new marketplaces that I didn't yet sell on. So now I list pretty much everything to eBay, Etsy, Mercari, Facebook Marketplace, the one with shipping, not just the local pickup Facebook Marketplace, Depop, and Poshmark. And I also have started selling directly on Instagram. So really it's 7 different marketplaces that I now sell on. And probably 90% of what I list goes on all those marketplaces. The stuff that happens not to be vintage, I don't put on Etsy. Also, sometimes don't put that on Depop. So, that's allowed me to, it was really a game changer. My sales have increased tremendously since I've started doing the cross posting. And I really could not have done that to the extent that I'm doing without this perfectly. So the next thing I did was increasing my social media presence. I've had my Facebook business page for Franklin Hill Ventures probably 4 or 5 years, but I really didn't focus much energy on it, and slowly built followers and would occasionally post. But over the last year to 2 years, I've really focused both on the Facebook market or Facebook business page as well as the Instagram page, and really probably focus more on the Instagram than I do the Facebook page. I believe I have somewhere in the neighborhood of, probably should have looked at this, but I think around 350 to 400 followers on my Facebook page. And I believe I just hit 800 on Instagram. So, I'm going to continue to try to grow both those. I've also added the YouTube where I'm doing some of these videos, and I do a little bit on Pinterest and Twitter. And then finally, the other part of the plan will be to maybe start adding some additional revenue streams. So short term, if I have to do this, I can always do Uber Eats. I did that like during the quarantine before, and it's a pretty easy way to make some extra money. So if I feel like the drain's going too quickly from the money I save, I can kind of slow that down a little bit with maybe doing some Uber Eats, a couple of hours a week. My plan is to probably not do that any of the first months, just to see how things go and really focus on, starting to get the business rolling. Kind of intermediate to long term, I'm also going to look at doing some additional online training. I already do a little bit of that. If you're interested, I do $30 an hour and do everything through Zoom. And I can do pretty much any, computer type training, whether it's Microsoft Office stuff, any of the reselling platforms, social media, any of those types of things. So reach out if you have any interest in that or any type of mentoring. And then I may also look at doing some limited computer consulting. I did that in a previous life for companies. I just don't want to really commit a bunch of time to something that would, go against the whole reason I'm leaving to do this full time. But there may be that opportunity at some point in the future. So those are kind of the things I did to plan for this. It's been a, kind of at the end of a 4 to 5 year plan. When I first started thinking about doing this full time. So I'm at the end of the line now with that. And, as I mentioned, come September 4th, we'll be a full-time reseller. So the next part, I really even hate to bring it up. I'm not planning on letting this fail, but I am a planner and I do have like a backup plan just in case, so if it's 6 to 7 month range, I'll probably look at this and just see kind of how my money bleed's going. And if I feel like I absolutely can't make it, even with driving Uber Eats or doing this or that, then I'll start to look for a job in Knoxville. But really, that's not even on the table right now. But I did want to mention it just because, it is, I guess, part of the overall plan. But even if that were to happen, I think my business, the Franklin Hill Ventures business, would be in better shape since I will have taken time to build the business up even bigger than it is now. So that's that in a nutshell is, what I've done from a planning standpoint. And I do have one favor to ask of everybody watching. If you're currently a full-time reseller, if you could just leave a comment that, I don't know, what's your biggest piece of advice for me, or what's the biggest pitfalls that I need to watch out for as I move into this new full-time reselling life. And if you're not full-time, but you have dreams to maybe be full-time one day, if you could comment or send me an email, what's been like your biggest barrier to going full-time from your part-time now. So anyway, if you could do that, and if you don't want to leave a comment, just email me at franklinhillventures@yahoo.com. And I believe that's it for tonight. And I plan to do another one of these in the upcoming weeks. Not sure exactly what the topic is, but will probably be about some specific goals that I have for the business. So anyway, everybody, thanks for stopping by. Make sure to go to www.franklinhillventures.com. That has a link to all our social media sites as well as our online marketplaces. And we will see you next time.